Real stories, real people.
Happy Halloween.
A few years ago, my friends and I went to a haunted attraction that opened every October near Brookdale, Ohio. It sat on the edge of town, right by a stretch of woods. There were three main parts: a haunted house, a corn maze, and a trail that wound through the forest. It wasn't anything fancy, but it was the kind of small-town thing everyone looked forward to. That night, I went with Mark, Jason, and Kyle. That's just his nickname. We were all laughing, full of energy, not expecting anything unusual. Just another Halloween night. We started with the haunted house. It was decent fake blood, strobe lights, loud noises. A few jump scares actually got us, but nothing too crazy. After that, we headed over to the corn maze. At first, it was slow. Just endless turns through rows of corn taller than us. Then, suddenly, a guy in a scarecrow costume came running out from the stalks screaming. We all yelled and ran in different directions. Even though I knew he was an actor, something about being chased like that makes you panic. I took off running through the maze, laughing at first until I realized I was alone. The laughter died pretty quick. I couldn't see my friends anywhere. I yelled their names, but all I heard was wind pushing through the corn. No music, no voices, no people nearby. Just me, in silence. I tried to stay calm and find my way out, but every turn looked the same. After about 20 minutes of walking in circles, I started hearing movement in the corn again. Heavy footsteps, not like the dry rustling of the stalks. I slowed down, listening. But then a hand reached out and grabbed my wrist hard. It didn't feel like part of the show. The grip was so strong that I shouted, "Stop! You're hurting me!" But whoever it was didn't let go. They pulled hard, trying to drag me into the corn. I couldn't see their face, just a sleeve of a heavy black coat and a dark glove. I yanked myself free and stumbled backward as a man stepped out onto the path. He wasn't wearing a costume. I recognized just a thick black jacket, black jeans, and a plain black mask. I yelled, "What the hell is wrong with you?" He didn't say a word. Then he started running straight at me. I ran as fast as I could through the maze, ignoring the paths completely. I cut straight through the corn until I could see the edge of the field again. My chest was burning, my wrist throbbing. When I finally reached the exit, I found one of the employees near a food stand. I told him one of the actors had gone too far, that he'd grabbed me hard enough to hurt me. The employee looked confused. He said no one was supposed to be wearing that kind of outfit. He promised to look into it. I thanked him and checked my phone. One missed call from Jason. When I called Jason back, he said they had tried finding me, but eventually went to the haunted trail in the woods. He told me to meet them there. So I walked across the fairground toward the trail entrance. The path was lined with orange lights and fake fog machines. Halloween music played through hidden speakers. It looked normal, but after what happened in the maze, I was on edge. I stepped under the archway and into the forest, my shoes crunching over wet leaves. The air was colder here, darker. I told myself I'd catch up with my friends in a few minutes. The trail was empty, quieter than I expected. I walked maybe 100 feet before I froze. Standing in the middle of the path ahead was that same man. The one from the maze. The black coat, the black mask. Everything. He didn't say anything. He just stood there, and before I could shout or move, he broke into a sprint toward me. I turned and ran into the woods, off the trail. Branches slapped my face as I yelled, "I'm calling the police!" I wasn't, but I hoped he'd believe it and stop. I kept running deeper into the woods until I couldn't hear him anymore. Then I stopped behind a tree to catch my breath. The only sounds were my breathing and the wind. My mind was racing. Did he really follow me here from the maze? How? I sat down on a thick root to rest. Then, from behind me, I heard footsteps crunching slowly through the leaves. At that exact moment, my phone started to ring. The sound echoed through the trees. I silenced it instantly, and now the footsteps had stopped too. I waited, barely breathing, then leaned around the tree to look. The path was empty. I whispered to myself, "You're fine," and started moving back toward the lights of the attraction. But when I turned right, I saw him again, 10 feet away, standing still, watching me. He didn't hesitate. He ran at me full speed again. I screamed, "I'm suing this place." But he didn't stop. He tackled me to the ground. I hit the dirt hard, rolled away, and somehow got up before he could grab me again. Then I ran. I didn't stop until I saw the fairground lights ahead. When I reached the edge of the trail, he didn't follow. He just stopped and turned back into the woods. I ran straight to the small front office shack by the parking lot. An older man came out, probably the manager. I told him everything: the man grabbing me in the maze, chasing me through the forest, knocking me down. He looked serious, not skeptical. He asked what the man looked like. And when I described him the coat, the mask, he said quietly, "We don't have anyone dressed like that." Then he picked up the phone and called the police. While we waited, I finally met up with my friends again. They were shocked when I told them what happened. The police arrived a few minutes later. They took my statement, asked if I was hurt, but aside from a sore wrist and some scratches, I was fine. They searched the maze and the woods for almost an hour, but they didn't find anyone matching the description. The place closed early that night. As we walked back to the car, none of us said a word. The fun, the laughter, the excitement, all of it was gone. I've never been to a haunted house or maze again since that night. Even now, when I drive past empty cornfields at night, I get this uneasy feeling like someone's walking behind me. I keep thinking about that man, how real his grip was, how he didn't speak a single word. I don't know who he was or what he wanted, but I know this: he wasn't there to scare people for fun. He was waiting for someone. And that night, I think it almost ended up being me. We moved into the house outside Athens, Georgia, in mid-October. It was small, backed by pine woods and a gravel driveway. My wife liked the porch, the kids liked the yard, and I liked the price. The inspector said it was basic but sound. During the first week, we fixed small things: a dripping faucet, a flickering light switch, loose hinges on the basement door. On October 25th, I took the trash to the road after dark and noticed how still everything felt. Just woods and quiet air. It didn't feel strange at the time. It just felt paused. The house layout was simple: living room, kitchen, 3 bedrooms down a short hall, and a basement door by the fridge. The basement wasn't finished, bare concrete, 1 bulb, and a few old shelves left by the last owner. The kids wanted Halloween decorations, so we bought pumpkins and a plastic candy bowl. My wife strung a few orange lights on the porch. Nothing fancy. Around that same week, I started waking up at 3:12 a.m. every night. No dream, no reason, just awake, alert, and aware of how silent that yard was. Silence gets heavier when you notice it. On October 27, after the kids went to bed, I heard a single footstep in the hallway. Not loud, just clear. I paused the TV, waited, then got up. Checked the thermostat. windows, back door. Everything was locked. The kids were asleep. My wife asked what I was doing, and I said it was the house settling. She smiled, but left the lamp on. I went back to the couch and tried to finish the movie. A few minutes later, the same sound came again, one slow step, same place. I told myself, air pressure can move floorboards. Sometimes lies are helpful. The next evening, I found the porch candy bowl inside the house, set neatly by the front door. I thought my wife moved it, but she hadn't. The kids said they hadn't either. I put it back outside and tested the latch. It caught fine. After dinner, the porch light clicked on even though the switch was off. I toggled it a few times, left it off, and walked away. Later that night, it was on again. I remember standing there, looking at that bulb burning for no reason, and thinking, maybe the house was just trying to stay noticed. On October 29, I bought a cheap motion camera from Walmart and pointed it at the basement door. I wanted to prove nothing was happening. That night, we watched a movie. Around 9, there was a light knock 3 taps from behind the kitchen. I paused the TV and waited. The kids were asleep upstairs. I opened the basement door, turned on the light, and looked down the stairs. Concrete floor, old paint, nothing else. The bulb hummed. Cold air pushed past my ankles. I closed the door and laughed to myself. Laughing makes fear smaller, for a little while. That night, I woke again at 3:12. Same time, same silence. I walked to the kitchen for water and glanced at the camera's red indicator. It was solid. Then I heard something faint, like glass sliding across wood. It came from the basement. I froze, waited. Nothing else. I didn't open the door. I just turned off the kitchen light and stood there for a minute, watching my own reflection in the window. It looked like someone waiting for a sound that already ended. The quiet was worse than noise. Silence leaves space for imagination to breathe. The next morning, I checked the memory card. 2 files had timestamps but wouldn't open, corrupted. I formatted it, said it again, aimed higher. That evening, we carved pumpkins with the kids. Normal night. After they went to bed, my wife and I heard a faint chain rattle sound down the hallway. We didn't own anything with chains. I walked the hall with a flashlight. The bedroom door I'd left open was halfway closed. I checked the window, no draft. Nothing moved. I kept the flashlight pointed low. Light doesn't help when you're looking for something you don't want to find. By Halloween morning, I decided to leave the camera running all day. We handed out candy in the evening, maybe 20 kids total. Around 10, we turned off the porch light and went to bed. I woke again at 3:12. The camera light was blinking this time. I opened my phone to check the feed. Black screen, no image, just audio. I heard faint movement, like footsteps on concrete and something dragging softly. The feed cut out. I sat on the couch until sunrise. I told myself it was animals, but animals don't shut doors behind them. When daylight came, I checked the basement door. It was locked from the inside. I had to use a screwdriver to get it open. The shelves had fallen over, and one jar had rolled to the center of the floor. The air smelled damp, like rain-soaked dust. I replaced the shelves, swept up, and locked the door again. Later that afternoon, I noticed fresh scratches around the keyhole, like someone had forced it shut. I didn't tell my wife. Some information only makes fear multiply, and fear doesn't share space well with logic. That night, October 31st, the wind picked up. Around midnight, something hit the back wall hard, then another, and another, like open hand slaps. The whole house seemed to react. Every door rattled at once. I ran down the hall, checked the kids still asleep. My wife stood in the doorway, frozen. We heard one final knock, sharp and deliberate, right at the basement door. I stood there with my hand on the knob. I didn't open it. Sometimes not knowing is the safest form of knowledge. The next morning, the basement door stood wide open. Inside, the jar I'd swept aside was back upright on the shelf. Nothing else looked disturbed. The camera battery was dead, even though it was plugged in. I carried it out to the porch and left it there. My wife didn't ask. The kids never mentioned hearing anything. I thought about calling the realtor, then decided against it. Selling fear doesn't erase it. It just changes the address. We stayed in that house until spring. After Halloween, nothing else happened. No footsteps, no knocks, no missing objects. Just silence. But I still woke at 3:12 a.m. for weeks. I'd check the time, breathe, and wait for something that didn't come back. I stopped drinking water before bed, stopped checking the doors. Some habits die slower than others. We eventually moved closer to town. Every October since, I still wake once around that same time, and I listen, just to be sure.